Good evening. Before I begin, congratulations to Steve and congratulations to Becky. Thank you for your words, Becky. I'm here to present the Athletic Hall of Honor. My name is Sunny Blackwell, and I am the Director of Athletics here at the Church Farm School. Before I get started, I want to thank the committee who was spearheaded by our Assistant Director of Athletics, Mr. Tom Johnstone. Also on that committee, Coach Kevin Core, Coach Art Smith, Coach Eric Fulmer, Mrs. McDermott, and Mrs. Claypool. A little bit about the Hall of Athletic Honor. It's not just about your athletic excellence, but it's about what you stand for, character, you have a great teammate, all those things, but most importantly, all our recipients exemplify core values of respect, responsibility, integrity, and brotherhood. It's not about what you did, but it's also about what you continue to do. So in looking at it, our recipients tonight, congratulations to Micheal Eric and the Eric family. Who continues to have a stellar career, which is not an easy thing to do, along with being a husband and a father. So salute to you, brother. Congratulations to Jason Kittlesen and the Kittlesen family. When you look at Jason, who served 30 years in the U.S. Army, and looking at the thing that stood out to me in his bio in 2007, he presented Church Farm School with the American flag that he flew during his mission in Baghdad. And the Lunardi family, congratulations to you. Looking at Richard, I know you're proud of him. Looking at how he talked about how he loved the events and working the games and going to away events, but the thing that stood out to me is he believed that it was vital to show up for our young men who often did not have family there to encourage and cheer for them. So thank you for being here to represent Richard tonight. So without further ado, Coach Mark Turner, you're on the clock. He will present Micheal Eric into the Hall of Athletic Honor.
Good evening. I don't know if I should ask you to come up. I look real short. Right. A couple of months ago, I got a call from either Stephanie Claypool or Tom Johnstone, and they said, Coach, we're going to give Micheal this award. And at the time, I was actually scheduled to be in Spain for the month of May. And I said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it. And a couple of weeks later, he calls me and he says, Coach, you got to be there. So of course I said, okay. But then I also realized that Mrs. Kistler, the Lunardi family, Art, they were also getting awards tonight as well. And I said, I have to be there because these are people that mean everything to Church Farm School. So if you could indulge me for a couple of minutes, I just want to share a couple of stories about those three. So Mrs. Kistler, I've never called you Becky. You're always Mrs. Kistler to me. would sit in her own chair right behind me on the bench. And when I started, I was 27 years old. And I didn't know if she was making sure I knew what I was doing or just paying attention because she liked the camaraderie I might have with my guys. I also didn't know you were such a Billy Joel fan because I would have played some Billy Joel in pregame. I'm sure my guys really would have loved that. But I can't tell you how much having Miss Kistler sitting behind the bench meant to me, because as I would leave the locker room and I'd look across to the bench, and there she was, every home game, and I'd run around, and I'd always get a hugging kiss from her and a word of encouragement. She made me feel like I was at home. So the Tyler Griffin Award is going to someone who is well-deserved, someone who makes Church Farm School special. So congratulations. And I'll be quick, I apologize. To the Lunardi family, I am one of 4 brothers. My father was an old military man, and he believed in tough love. So crying wasn't something I did a lot of, or was allowed to do as a youngster. And it wasn't until I got to Church Farm School, and Rich would be at the scores table, and every first game at home to start a season, as the pregame warm-ups would occur, and both teams are getting warm, he would walk over to the bench, he'd sit down beside me, and he would proceed to tell me how special I was and how important the work I was doing for Church Farm School was. And then he would start weeping like a baby. And we would cry together. And I remember his last year where he was able to do it, he came walking over, and I said to my assistant, uh-oh, here he comes. And your dad sits down, and I said, Rich, let's just get to it. And we just started hugging and crying. So to the Lunardi family, he was special. And we at Church Farm School are better because of it. Last but not least, where's Art? There you are. So I've known Art for 30 years. And when I started, this wasn't even here. So the basketball team and the wrestling team would all practice together across the driveway in that little gym. And I would have 15 of my varsity guys, my JV kids would be there, a couple of managers, my coaches. So there might have been just 40 basketball people. And then he would have his group of players and coaches all in one small, hot gym. It was chaotic. But I was 27, and I got to see firsthand what good coaching looked like. And it looked like Art Smith. And what I learned, and I used to be a college basketball coach, and a lot of the college coaches need to learn what I learned at 27. And that is, you can be demanding without being demeaning. Art is demanding without being demeaning. And I learned that from him. So no one is more deserving of this honor as well as Art Smith, but I have a problem. Art, I am so sick and tired of buying these darn shirts. And these quotes weren't what I heard over in that gym over there. But despite that, I appreciate you. Art went through a medical situation, I believe it was the beginning of this year. And I called Art, and we spoke for quite some time and caught up, and I wanted to see how he was doing. And like true Art Smith, I said, you're not going to coach. I'm sure Tom Johnstone or someone can coach. And he said, I'm coaching. Art loves coaching. And Church Farm School loves art. So congratulations. Now on to this guy. As I said, I used to be a college basketball coach, and one of the jobs as a college basketball coach is you have to befriend summer coaches, AAU coaches, coaches who coach high school players in the summer. And I did that. And one of them, and the one who introduced me to Micheal Eric is actually here, and that's Dwayne Coverdale. Put your hand up, Dwayne. And I met Dwayne when I was with Villanova, and he called me when Mr. Kistler hired me again here, and he says, I have this 6'10" junior. I think you were just finishing his 10th grade year at Cesar Rodney High School in Delaware. He's long, he's fast, he can jump, and I said, where do I sign? And it was Micheal Eric. And Micheal was, is it fair to say, pretty raw when you started? Didn't play a lot at Cesar Rodney High School, and his AAU coach wanted him to go somewhere where he could go and work through his mistakes and still play. So Micheal and I would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning before breakfast. We'd show up in the gym, and we would work on passing and catching and stopping, important stuff. And we did it day in and day out, and he never missed a day. Micheal went from that to a top 100 player by his senior year here at Church Farm School, someone who everyone knew about. But the thing about Micheal is he never forgot where he came from. And a story that, as I was thinking what I was going to say about Micheal, the story that came to mind was we were playing against a league opponent in their gym, and we're up big because I had what? And like most coaches, you clear the bench, and I probably did it too soon. And I clear the bench, and we put in our 15th player, a young man by the name of Hunjin, who wasn't really a very good basketball player. And the other team starts coming back, and they start making threes, they're pressing us, and we're throwing the ball all over the gym. And if there's any basketball coaches here, you know the feeling. You don't want to have to put your starters back in. And I'm just praying that we can make a layup or get fouled and make a foul shot, anything. And the clock is winding down, and our lead is winding down. And my starters, minus Micheal, are yelling at me, Coach, put us back in the game. So we go from up 20 to up 3 with the other team with the ball with 10 seconds left in the game. They call the timeout. Our kids come over. Hunjin, who didn't get to play very much, is saying to me, put Micheal Eric in the game. But I wouldn't. They practice hard. They're there every day. They're running all the sprints. So I refused. And the rest of the team, the starters, are losing their mind, thinking I bumped my head and I don't know what I'm doing. Except for Micheal. And we go out, and they run a play, and 3 of my kids are guarding one of their kids, and they get a wide open 3, and I'm thinking, I'm fired. And they miss. We win the game, and everyone in the locker room was upset with Coach, except for Micheal. Because he knew what I was doing. And he was unselfish enough to allow them an opportunity when the game counted. That's who Micheal Eric is. We can talk about his basketball accolades, but but it's who he is. Because of Micheal, we had an opportunity to play some really incredible opponents. Chester High School comes to mind, and one of my other players in the back mentioned this game, and we played Chester at Chester. Micheal's incredible. 22 points, 23 rebounds, 11 block shots. And if it wasn't for him, it wouldn't have been close. And Chester goes on, I believe, to win the state championship that year. But he allowed us an opportunity to play against that type of competition and never made it about him. Micheal's special, just like those other nominees that I talked about. And he's special for who he is. Micheal was fortunate enough to get a full scholarship to go to Temple University. And on my way here, I actually got a call from Fran Dunphy, who told me that Micheal gave him the wrong time, by the way. So he couldn't make dinner, but he wanted to share some Micheal Eric stories. So Coach and I started talking about Micheal, and we never once talked about basketball. We just talked about him and how he will call us regardless of where he is. I'll get calls from Micheal from Korea, Russia, Turkey, Greece, Spain. He called me last year in Spain. I happened to be in Spain, actually. So I get calls from Micheal all over the world. My oldest daughter, Michael's 1 year ahead of my oldest daughter, and I remember when she decided to go to Temple, I moved her in. I believe she was staying in the same building as Micheal. And I called Micheal like any dad would. Hey, Mike, I just moved my baby into college. I need you to take care of her. He said, I got you, Coach. And Micheal acted like the big brother that my daughter Alexis never had. And she talks about it all the time. That's who Micheal Eric is. But it takes a village. And this is part of Mike's village. And he's done an incredible job of remembering where he came from. His village includes his wife Gina, little Georgie over there, his mom, his family. Micheal's father was a coach, a soccer coach. Micheal's supposed to be a soccer player, right, Steve? But he grew too much. Micheal is coachable, which is a skill that not everybody has. Micheal's extremely coachable because his father was a coach. And when Micheal got here, I have to give a shout out to his older brother. Put your hand up, Steve. Because when he was here, it was Steve who acted like his father. And Steve made sure, even though he was the smaller, bigger brother, Steve made sure that Micheal was doing what he was supposed to do. So if I ever had a problem, I knew all I needed to do was call Steve. So Steve, I'm sure Micheal has said thank you, and I appreciate everything you've done, but I want to publicly make sure you know that you're responsible for this as well, because you were there when you were a young man yourself, and you took that role and you did a magnificent job with it. So congratulations to you as well and your family. Micheal is family to me. Micheal never forgets where he came from. Micheal is special. Church Farm School is special. So please allow me to introduce to you the newest member of the Church Farm School Athletic Hall of Honor, Micheal Eric.
appreciate it. All right. Okay. Well, first I want to thank Church Farm School for accepting a kid from Lagos, Nigeria. First of all, I want to thank God. Thank God for blessing me with this ability, this height, this every quality coach turned into measure, I guess. I was blessed with it, and I'm thankful. Thank God first for that. I want to thank my parents, my mom, my dad, my late dad. My mom raised 4 beautiful kids, Stephen, Victoria, Juliana, and myself. I want to thank you, Mommy, for everything you've done, the sacrifice, the way you took care of every one of us, including our father, who was one of your kids as well. I want to thank you for just being there for us. I want to thank my mother-in-law, my #1 fan. She tells me that every time. Thank you. I want to thank my wife, Gina. Thank you for your never-ending support. You know, you and I know we've been through a lot. Thank you. And my daughter, Georgie, she's here with me. She's 6 years old. She's adorable, and she's gonna be special. Like, I want to thank you my family. Before I dive into what I'm going to say, before I receive this award, I have 2 things I learned about Church Farm. I think #1 was faith. I have faith that was involved in many things that happened to me at Church Farm. Starting from Dwayne Coverdale, the first person I met in the U.S. in terms of basketball, related basketball. He's here with us. Thank you, Dwayne. He had faith in trying to put me in a school or somewhere to start my basketball career. And he did find Church Farm. He met with Coach Turner, and they had that faith that something would come out of this. Micheal Eric project or something like that. I'll call it that way. So being here in Church Farm and that opportunity I had to come here was based on the faith of a man, just taking a chance to see if another man would have a faith in me to be in the school. I learned about just having perseverance through a lot of things. I went through injuries in my career, but I started and learned from experience from here in Church Farm. The discipline we learned from being here in Church Farm, waking up early, going to classes, having an opportunity to work out before school, doing my schoolwork, and also having all the schedule. All these things propel me to who I am right now as a professional athlete. And I'm thankful for what Church Farm has brought to many of us that went through school, through this campus, and through this always. A lot of us have candid memories of how this school has propelled us to what we're doing right now in the future. And I'm thankful for that. The other thing I wanted to tap into is the fundamentals and basic things I learned from Church Farm as well, academics. I was able to go to college on a full scholarship based on hard work here at Church Farm. And just being inducted to this athletic Hall of Fame, it's an honor. It's a big honor for me and my family. They're here to support me for that. And a kid from Lagos, Nigeria, being honored in front of you guys, it's amazing. And I'm very thankful, very fortunate to be in front of everyone. And thank you so much for this award. Thank you so much for the opportunity to let me come to the school, this institution, and be part of the family, and everyone is there to my heart in CFS. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. I love to get up here. I'm from South Carolina, so I don't get up here a lot, but it's just so wonderful to see everybody. Church Carm was the greatest gift my parents could give me. I'm a teacher. I love what I do. The reason I love what I do is because of the faculty here. Because I knew every day they loved what they did, and they loved me. And so it just meant so much in my life. It formed me as a teacher, and I'm so proud to come back and thank everyone. A couple years ago, I was inducted to the Hall of Honor, and I walked away from that, and I was very humbled because what I realized is God had given me an opportunity to thank people. I was able to thank Art Smith in my speech, and it meant the world to me. And I'm going to take that opportunity right now. Lunardi's, when I was a young man, I really was kind of clueless, and I was kind of walking down the hallways senior year, and I had applied to some colleges, and Miss Lunardi, always been Miss Lunardi to me, grabs me. All right, so I'm coming by, and he has his office for counseling, pulls me in, and he looks dead at me, and he says, "Not good enough." And for the next week, he sat down personally with me, and he went through colleges that I never thought I could go to. And I was able to go to William and Mary, and it was the most wonderful, wonderful thing that he did for me, because he didn't have to stop me that day. And that, I'm just one of thousands. And so I just want to thank you, and just tell you how much I loved your father. And it just meant the world to me. He changed my life. So I'm going to take that opportunity to thank you. A few things about my friend Kit here. I met when I was a freshman, he was a sophomore. The first thing I thought, what great hair. All right, he had that nice skater 90s cut. And for those of you who were African-American men in the early 1990s, we had very limited options for our hair. All right, and now it's too late, so now I can do nothing. So, but we moved on from there, and Art Smith convinced me to come progressive. And this is kind of the second time I met Kit, and I said, "This guy's crazy." All right, because I don't think I saw him smile on the mat. Right? His intensity was amazing. And I learned from watching him. My junior year, I got the privilege of being his wrestling partner. And the intensity continued. And if I didn't bring the intensity, he did. And I got better by trying to be like him, right? To match his intensity, etc. And what we have here, and I have to bring this up, it's terrible, but Kit led us to an undefeated season as captain that year, we were a junior, and he was going to win the state championship. And then those of you that understand the K-Sax, freaking Plumstead, all right? They tried to kind of drink, I know they had anabolic corn they fed the kids or something, but they weren't good. They were big and strong. Kid managed to break Kit's wrist, right, going into the state tournament. And I watched a young man choose a path of leadership. He could have stayed home, he could have pouted, but he showed up at the state championship that he should have won. And cheered his teammates on, gave us advice, acted as an assistant coach, and showed leadership and courage to face that. The next year was my turn. And I went to states, and he was there, my best friend in the world. Kid came back. And before I went on the mat, he was the one I talked to. And I won the state title, and not only did he congratulate me, he filmed it, so my children get to see me win the state title, right, because of him. He didn't have to come back, he chose the path of leadership. He came back and led us, even though he was not really on the team. And you think that he was done giving to me as a person, but he wasn't. He introduced me to just a wonderful person, his wife Karen, who, as Kit was deployed, showed grace, just a wonderful mother and wife, and I'm so proud to call her my friend. And then, there's 4 wonderful children, right? You have Jason, Ryan, Declan, and Izzy, and every time they visit, they fill me with joy. And so he's given me an extended family. And so it's just, it's a tremendous honor to be able to come up here and thank Jason. That's really what this is about for me. God gave me a chance to thank my best friend, who's godparent to my 2 boys, and thank him for everything he's done. So we are just honoring him athletically, but mostly as a person. Right, he means the world to me. Jason, thank you so much. And no further ado, Jason Kittlesen.
Good evening, head of school, members of the board, faculty and staff, distinguished guests, friends of Church Farm, family and friends of Eric, and the Lunardi family. It's a tremendous honor and privilege to stand before you here this evening and be inducted into the Hall of Honor. It's truly humbling to be inducted into the CFS Hall of Honor and counted amongst both mentors and peers. I'm greatly appreciative of this award, and I'd like to extend my sincere gratitude to the nomination committee for their confidence in my accomplishments and the athletic discipline. Thank you. When I was told that I was going to be inducted into the Hall of Honor, I was taken aback. After it sunk in, I was both excited and honored to be selected. The reasoning for my initial shock stems from my beginnings here on the farm. Let's just say that my time here in the beginning, I wasn't the greatest athlete initially, and I could be challenging to work with at times. In hindsight, I believe this is exactly what the Colonel had in mind when he established the school. I was the ideal boy that he was looking for. I needed purpose, direction, and motivation. I had plenty of emotion and nowhere to channel it. The Colonel's vision of instilling students with character, according to 3 tenets of religion, hard work, and education would be essential in my development as an individual and an athlete. I think that Mr. Kistler Sr. believed the same thing. As the head of admissions back in 1986, he told me I got his special algebra question correct. I knew that I had not done very well on the rest of the entrance examination, but he saw something in me and knew that I needed a home, and so my journey began. And it started at 8th grade year, and he thought so greatly of me that he handed me off to his son and in pre-algebra. I was maybe 95 pounds soaking wet my 8th grade year, and the only wrestling I knew about was Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair, oh yeah, and the WWF, so here we go. Here at school, we only had floor hockey, which was basically like death, you know, in a tiny room with a bunch of guys throwing sticks at each other, and you're like, no. I was like, I'm not doing that. And basketball, that's in bye-bye to that a long time ago, and wrestling. So wrestling it was. I was scrawny. I wore a sweatshirt underneath my singlet to hide my skinny body, and I had a pigeon chest. I was weak. I had serious issues with authority, and yes, I was angry. Sorry, Nate. I lost every single match that first year in my 8th grade year. My time in the cottage that first year was rough, to say the least. Back then, there was a lower form and an upper form. So, like, think about it, lower forms of life. Yeah, that's what 7th and 8th graders were. So yeah, it was not a good year or a good start for a 13-year-old who was angry at the world. I went home that summer determined to come back better. I didn't make JV soccer as a freshman, and this school had a really good soccer program, and that was the only sport I played before I came to Church Farm. So I tried out for cross country at Church Farm, which Coach Lunardi was the coach of. Everybody made the team because everybody can run, so it didn't matter. But I was gonna get in shape, and I pretty much ran like a lame duck. So he taught me how to run, and I was very thankful for that. He got me conditioned for the upcoming season because, like, you know, Coach was talking about earlier, there was a lot of sweat going on in that tiny little, you know, rectangle next to the gym over there across the street. More importantly, he would serve as our counselor for the next 4 years. And he did a great job mentoring me, and more importantly, he beat Algebra 2 into my head my junior year. The problem is the same time I was taking chemistry, and all the chemistry problems are Algebra 2, so I failed arts class and had to take chemistry in summer school, but that's another story. So Wrestling's an individual sport, you would think, right? But it's also a team sport. And I don't just mean, the points that get put up on the board. I mean, it was crushing each other every day in practice, pushing one another to the point of exhaustion to make one another better. It was supporting your buddies as we cut weight when there was no rules about cutting weight. We didn't do it for ourselves. We did it for the sake of the team. It was 3 or 4 guys dropping at the same time, and we all supported one another. This was mostly for tournaments. No one was chasing trophies on our team. That was not allowed. I believe I'm standing here in part because of my individual achievements, but also because of those amazing teammates that I had. I know Lamont's back there somewhere too. The privilege to wrestle with over the years. After my dismal freshman year, oh, hold on. Let me see. Yep. Yeah. All right. So I'm not good at typing either. You guys can tell. It's all right. So my freshman year, I came back. I probably won, had a better winning record than a losing record, but we did come back and we won the KSACs that year, and as an individual I got second place and helped our team get its 5th KSACs. Sophomore year, Nate wasn't, Nate, that was the year, yep, that you showed up, and we got 5th. But that was the dual meet year with Plumstead. Where's Art at? Yeah, that was the year. So Plumstead shows up in the gym over here, and they come in, and they handed us a loss in our gym at home. I got pinned, Brian Merritt got pinned, a couple of senior guys on the team got pinned, and they beat us at home. And let's just say that we got some inspirational words from Art that Coach was talking about that aren't on those shirts out there that are for sale. But during the tournament, we came back to redeem ourselves, and we secured that 6th consecutive championship. But I think that still bothers Art that they have a banner hanging up that says, a regular season champs, for that year. My junior year was the pivotal year. That was the year that we saw those senior wrestlers start to leave and kind of hand the baton off to us. More importantly, we won our 7th consecutive KSAC. My senior year, that's when we put it all together. We were firing on all cylinders as a team. My co-captain, Mike Cruz, and I were fortunate enough to lead a group of amazing wrestlers. We're not exceptionally talented, except for Lamont. He was just crazy, phenomenal, just natural talent. Our lightweights were seasoned veterans, which John, me, Nate, it's very rare that you get juniors, seniors, sophomores that are all lightweights. Mostly they're freshmen that don't know what they're doing, but we were seasoned, and our middleweights and heavyweights, they were beasts. We were the first undefeated team, as Nate said, in the history of the school. We won our 8th KSAC. We were 4th at state that year, and we saw John become our first state champion in school history. It was amazing. So why all this focus on the team? Isn't this an individual award? Well, that's a great question, because no matter what you do or decide to do in life, you'll be part of a team. You'll be a great individual at the end of the day, but there'll always be a team supporting you. You'll be the cog in the wheel, you'll be a driving force in the machine towards a goal, but success in life has a direct relation to the lessons you learn in sports. So my advice to you, to the students that are here listening, be humble and do not boast. Be a good teammate or co-worker on and off the mat, court, field, or in the office, or on the battlefield. It will follow you and reflect on your character in everything that you do. Represent yourself, your team, your coaches, and your school organization, your company or battalion with honor and integrity. The high school and collegiate years are going to be the formative years of your life, and arguably, they were for most of us. They built me into the person that I've become. I continue to fail, succeed, learn, and grow, and improve, but the foundation of who I am as a man are built right here on the ground that we stand on, which used to be grass. Thank you to all my fellow wrestlers, even those who were the hardest on me when I first got here. I still learn from those experiences. A toxic lesson is even a lesson. Nate Harris, my brother from another mother, godfather of my children, thank you for everything. John Sation, we drove each other into the mat and even up the walls, and I couldn't be here without you, my friend. Lamont, what can I say? You were an inspiration to us all. Watching you dominate that Haverford kid was amazing during the state finals in 1992. To Mike Cruz, my roommate, and my co-captain who's not here tonight, I couldn't have done it without you. As Nate said, there's always a yin and a yang, and he was the calm to my anger. He kept me straight and was the quiet in the storm. Thanks to all of my coaches and all, Coach Lunardi, Coach Schlesinger, Coach Fernandez, Coach Davini, always there to support us. Coach Ryle, such gentle and quiet, always there to tweak a move that would to make us better. And Coach Smith. I think I said everything I needed to say last night. Plus enough people are gonna say enough about you tonight. Suck it up, so I won't say anything else. Finally, and most importantly, I want to thank my wife Karen of 19 years, 11 months, 11 days, 18 plus hours, and some odd minutes, for giving me 4 beautiful children that sometimes listen to us. She outranked me in our ROTC class in college. I tell her it was love at first sight, even though she denies it. She served in Iraq under fire, became a physician's assistant, walked away from her profession to raise our children as Christ-loving believers, and has found her profession again as an elementary school teacher. She has seen me at my worst and at my best, and has never faltered as the foundation of our family on this earth. Thank you for everything. I wouldn't be here without you. Thank you to everyone here behind the scenes who helped put this event together and make this possible. You did an amazing job. Happy early Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Good evening. God bless you all, and all glory to Christ. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Everyone can hear me? Christopher Gibbs, class of 1988, the best class that ever left, CFS. Most people in my class and after my class know me as Gibby, nickname I've had since I was a child. Richard Lunardi was a phenomenal man. He was a man of God, he was a man of faith, he was a man of, he really advocated for his students. So, 1984, come to Church Farm School, 10th grade, and first semester comes, fail everything. Pulls me out in the hallway Max Doble's class, and he's like, Christopher, what's going on with class? Dude, like, you're not passing anything. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And he says, some of my body language that I was embarrassed, of course I was. And so he had a courageous conversation with me, and he says, do you understand the work? And I was almost in tears, actually I was in tears, and I told him no. I didn't know how to do the work, I struggled. And he says, well, normally when a student is not passing, it's their behavior. You don't have any behavior problems. So let me see what I can do. So my mother came for Parents Weekend. So it was my mother, Mr. Lunardi, Senior Kistler, Dr. Deviney. They had this collaborative effort, right? Because my mother had made it clear that Christopher cannot come back to Brooklyn. It's just not going to be good for him. And I didn't want to go back, but I was worried. So they had this discussion, and my mother called me back in Senior Kistler's office, actually Deviney's office at the time, and it was made that going into the second quarter, I would go back into the 9th grade. And I said, that's not gonna happen. I'm gonna get teased, I'm gonna get made fun of. And I'm already here to tell you, Mr. Lunardi, I'm gonna get in a lot of fights. Like, nobody's gonna be teasing this kid from Brooklyn about I got held back. Like, I'm gonna be getting in fights, it's gonna happen. And my mother was upset, crying, because I was so candid about what I was planning to do. And Senior Kistler, Dr. Deviney, and Mr. Lunardi gave me really, really encouraging words. And they presented a plan of action, mandatory study hall, tutoring once a week. And because of Mr. Lunardi's courageous action, he didn't spend much time talking about it, but he knew he needed to do something. Because he knew he wanted Christopher and me to go back to Brooklyn. That wasn't an option. I would have gone to a very dangerous school at the time. And I finished on time, finished a year later, the class of 1988. And, you know, he really instilled in me that gotta pray, Christopher, you gotta pray. You gotta read your Bible sometimes. So I got to see another aspect of Mr. Lunardi that I don't think many people got to see when I would have quiet conversation with him, especially my senior year, because I'm going out into the world. I'm not really sure what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, and I'm still feeling myself out, still working on my confidence band. He was also a coach for cross country, and he was encouraging there. But to go to his home and sit with little Christopher at the time next to him, and with his wife and his children, and we would all hold hands together and pray before we ate, really gave me a different perspective on Mr. Lunardi, and I really began to appreciate and love him for who he was. I'm really glad, really sad that he's gone, because he had an empowering impact on my life. And so it's now 2024, and every year that I earned another college degree, and I have 4 of them, I would always call him and say, Mr. Lunardi, I got another one under my belt. Great job, Christopher. Praise the Lord. Keep praying, keep doing what you're doing. So I know this is about the award, about him, about athletics, but he was so much more than that. He was so much more than that than just athletics. And so let's give a huge round of applause for no one other than Richard Lunardi.
Thank you. Dad would say, sit down. It's been a long night. Mr. Sherrill, Ms. Scott, Mr. Blackwell, Mr. Schott, Ms. McDermott, thank you so much. All of our Swedesford Road friends. It's good to be around some people that know which house is the Deviney's house and which road is the Shuttles Road and all that, you know, or who lived in the manor. Who lived in the manor? Just us? Okay. That was early 80s. So Dad and Mom came in '81. He obviously passed in 2013. For those of you who maybe are outside of that time frame and you're reading the thing here, you're trying to figure out how this guy's going into the Athletic Hall of Honor, I can assure you, as the people sitting up front, we're having the same question, right? Had to be a typo or some kind of mistake. So we were brainstorming. I mean, he definitely, he coached cross country, right? And I don't think they were very good, but they only lost 1 or 2 kids a year going around the pond, right? He did baseball. He was like decent at throwing BP and kind of awkward with a fungo, but he did it and figured it out. He had bad cleats and Kmart glove. So we were really stuck, like, how did Dad get this award? Honestly, like, so we went out of the box. So the year he was going to pass, it was kind of impending. Joe Lunardi, the bracketologist, he's here, right? Round of applause for Joe. He has this very important fantasy baseball league. Very important. It's been together for 40 years. You cannot get in this league. And they made an exception for Dad, that they would let him have a team. They expanded. First time in 40 years, we named the team the Pipes, because that's what he called us as kids. But he wasn't even good at that. We came in dead last, and frankly, since he's been advising from heaven, the team's been borderline dominant. Just saying. So anyhow, we could not figure out how we got into this thing. So I started thinking, honestly, any class of '88, I started thinking about like Dozie Mabanu, Duncan. Anybody who's, am I in the right genre? Yes, okay. I started thinking about Officer Kittlesen, like holding his shoulder off the mat in a tournament. Dad was not coaching. He was definitely not. He was just there. He was always there. He was there at home. He was there on the road. He probably did the book. I was thinking about this on the flight. I live in Florida now, so flying up, probably over 500 times doing the book, and then I figured it out. Guy was undefeated at the table. Undefeated. I'm telling you right now. Whoever was across from him at the table, you know, basketball people, there's always 2 people there. Whoever was there had no chance. No chance. He came, first of all, he was armed with like a roll of those maroon Church Farm School pencils, perfectly sharpened, tightly in a rubber band, okay? He was there an hour before Coach Turner or Coach Kistler, for sure. He had an amazing ability to make like pleasant banter, but not be annoying. Most table people, they're either asleep, right? Or they're incessantly talking to a point that you want to clock them. He was perfect. Like whoever was next to him was going to have the second best book that night. Like, no chance. He was the table guy that if the ref like pulled out the arrow coin and it didn't match what was at the table, like the ref knew he was wrong. Like there was no doubt. Like if Coach Kistler or Coach Turner, like I don't know, if one of the guys gets a foul and it goes up on the board, foul number 4, and Coach is like, no, Rich, that was 3. He would just go, and you knew he was right. Like you just knew he was right. Absolutely undefeated. But no, in all seriousness, he would be the first to say he has no business being up here on the same platform as Micheal or Officer Kittlesen. He's just a guy that showed up to work every day. He loved kids, he loved his family, he loved the Lord. Before it was cool to talk about it, he went to Catholic school. Okay, so like he didn't talk about it, he just lived it. Like he truly was, I'm old enough now to think back, like he didn't talk about his faith, he just lived it. He lived it every day. I saw him live it with guys, I don't know, probably you guys, at home at the dinner table on Swedesford Road doing homework or going over to the library. Like he just lived it. So actually it's very cool. So thank you. Guys like that honestly generally do not go into Hall of Fames, Hall of Honors, because he he wasn't an NBA player. He wasn't even, he didn't even play high school. You know, he was not a military servant. He just had a servant's heart. So it's special. It's special. He was just a quiet guy, humble guy, hardworking guy. It's special. But I will say this: if there's a Hall of Fame for being just a good friend, a good colleague, a good math teacher, a good counselor, really good Little League coach, advisor, very good Sunday school guitar player, living room piano player, brother, son, uncle, certainly a Hall of Fame dad, definitely a Hall of Fame grampy, definitely a Hall of Fame husband, and clearly from what I've heard tonight, a Hall of Famer at leading and discipling of men. So it's been an honor. Thank you all for a special night. Thank you, Lori, and God bless.